The Zorthian arena was vast, its walls towering like jagged cliffs around the pit, a circle of gleaming metal and energy shields, designed to prevent escape, held the spectator's gaze. Alien eyes of every shape and color locked in anticipation. Above them, floating platforms suspended strange beings, each species more bizarre than the last, their eyes glinting with malicious amusement. This was no mere fight. It was a spectacle, a cruel sport played with lives as tokens. And today, the token was a human child. Captain Rachel Ratch. Turner stood behind a transparent force field at the edge of the arena, her sharp eyes scanning the scene before her. The heat of the arena's artificial sun hit her skin, but she didn't flinch. She couldn't afford to. Not now. The team was watching, and their fate depended on how she handled this. How we handle this. She corrected herself, forcing her thoughts back into focus. The mission was clear. Get the child, Lily, out alive, and maybe, even somehow, show the galaxy that humans weren't the helpless weaklings the aliens thought them to be. Ratch turned her head slightly. Behind her, Enzo Rodriguez, the team's tech expert, was muttering curses as he fiddled with his wrist pad. The man's long fingers danced over the glowing interface, trying to hack into the arena systems. Enzo was an engineer by trade, but the battlefield had made a prodigy out of him. He was quick, clever, and a little too willing to take risks. This place is a nightmare, he grumbled, flicking a strand of unruly black hair from his face. They've got everything locked down tighter than a Zorvian warship. I can barely get through their firewall. Ratch's lips thinned. We don't have time, Enzo. Make it work. Enzo snorted, always the optimist. Huh? Fine. I'll work some magic. But if I don't have a decent exit plan in 3 minutes, you're on your own. Behind him, Cleo Sky Sharp, the team's dreamer and eternal optimist, shifted nervously, her blue eyes scanning the crowd. Come on, Enzo, she said with a bright, almost manic grin. We're humans. If anyone can make this work, it's us, right? Ratch could almost hear the sarcasm in her voice. Cleo had a way of making everything seem like a grand adventure, even when the odds were stacked a mile high against them. But it was Cleo's stubborn hopefulness that kept the team together when all seemed lost. And right now, that might be more important than any tech skills. Ratch's gaze shifted to Marcus, Wildcard Finch, the team's unpredictable fighter. Wildcard's expression was hard to read, as always. He was crouched low, bouncing from foot to foot, the kind of man who was both a liability and an asset in equal measure. Wildcard's idea of strategy was usually throwing a grenade and seeing what happened. I got a feeling today's going to be fun, he said with a gleam in his eye. Might even get to show off some of my moves. Focus, Marcus, Ratch ordered sharply. You're not going in there unless we have no other choice. His lips curled into an amused grin. Always such a downer, Ratch. I thought you'd be more excited to show them what a human can do when pushed. Let's just hope the kid's as tough as you. Ratch didn't reply. She was in the mood for banter. She was watching the central screen where the arena's combatants were being introduced. Theros, the Galactic Soldier, towered over the human child. He was a towering, heavily armored figure, his face hidden behind a metal visor, his every movement exuding power. His reputation was legendary, an undefeated champion across multiple star systems. He was the perfect killer, the kind of opponent they couldn't defeat by force alone. Then there was Lily, a tiny figure standing alone in the center of the arena, her wide eyes filled with confusion and innocence. Her hands were raised in protective gesture, her posture more one of curiosity than fear. The spectacle was carefully designed to break her spirit, to show the galaxy that humans had no place in the grand hierarchy of the stars. But Ratch saw something more in Lily's eyes, something that could make all the difference. Focus, Ratch muttered to herself. She needed to make a plan. Fast. Suddenly, the loudspeaker boomed, announcing the start of the match. The alien crowd roared to life, a cacophony of strange languages and distorted sounds. Ratch felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. She wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. This was a statement. Humanity wasn't just going to roll over. Not here. Not today. The moment the fight started, Theros advanced, his massive form lunging toward Lily with terrifying speed. The child didn't flinch. She didn't run. Ratch's heart skipped a beat. "Is she?" Cleo whispered, her voice trembling. But she was cut off by the explosive sound of Theros' heavy boots pounding against the ground as he closed the distance. But then, the impossible happened. Lily, small as she was, sidestepped just at the right moment, avoiding Theros' heavy strike by inches. It wasn't instinctual dodge. Lily's movements were deliberate, as if she had some hidden knowledge of how to survive, how to manipulate the situation in her favor. Theros paused, his eyes narrowing beneath his visor. What was that? Ratch's mind raced. The kid's not just a bystander. She's adapting. It was an unexpected glimmer of hope, a sign that humanity's creativity wasn't confined to just their soldiers or scientists. Lily was learning, evolving in real time. "Enzo," Ratch barked. "We need to move now." Enzo's fingers flew over the wrist pad, but his face was tense. "I'm working on it, but we're running out of time. I'll need a distraction to finish this hack." Wild Card stepped forward. "I got it. Leave the distraction to me." Ratch turned to him, raising an eyebrow. "Don't do anything stupid." "Define stupid." Wild Card shot back with a grin that could only mean trouble. Before Ratch could say anything more, Lily, with a swift motion, reached down to the arena floor and grabbed a small, jagged piece of debris. It wasn't a weapon, it wasn't anything, but when she swung it upward, the angle, the timing, and the sheer unexpectedness of the movement caused Theros to hesitate for just a second. In that fraction of a second, Lily ducked beneath his neck strike and, somehow, found her footing. Ratch's jaw tightened. The kid wasn't just a survivor. She was a fighter, and that was exactly what they needed. The arena erupted into a deafening roar. Theros, the towering Galactic Soldier, loomed like an unstoppable force, his gloved hands crackling with energy. Lily, small and unarmed, was at the center of the pit. The audience's eyes, a sea of unfamiliar alien shapes and colors, fixated on her with a mix of disdain and anticipation. They were waiting for the inevitable, the slaughter of a helpless human child. But instead of cowering, Lily stood tall, her chest rising and falling with each steady breath. There was no fear in her eyes, only an intense, focused calm. It was as if she had already accepted the challenge and was quietly deciding how to turn the odds in her favor. Ratch Turner's gaze never wavered from the scene before her. She could hear the blood pounding in her ears, feel the urgency tightening her chest. Time was slipping away, and they had no backup plan. This wasn't just about escaping. It was about showing the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated. "Enzo, any luck with the arena systems?" Ratch's voice was low, barely above a whisper, but her words carried the weight of their mission. Enzo was hunched over, fingers a blur as he manipulated his wrist pad. His face was etched with frustration, and he muttered under his breath, "Their security's tighter than I expected. Every time I think I've cracked something, it shifts like it's alive." "Keep at it," Ratch urged. "We need a distraction, something to throw Theros off balance." Beside her, Cleo Sharp, known as Sky for her optimistic outlook, clenched her fists. The tension in the air was almost unbearable, but she wasn't about to let it break her. She turned to Ratch with a determined glint in her eyes. "We're humans, Ratch. If there's one thing we're good at, it's thinking outside the box." Sky was the kind of person who always saw the silver lining, even in the darkest storm. But in a situation like this, her attitude was both a strength and a weakness. It kept the team from losing hope, but it also meant they had to take risks, big ones. Ratch turned back to the fight. Lily was dodging Theros' attacks with surprising agility, her small frame darting and weaving in ways that seemed almost instinctive. The soldier's brute force was matched only by his confusion. He swung again, but Lily wasn't there. She ducked under his attack, her movements fluid and purposeful. The crowd gasped in unison. It wasn't fear in her eyes. It was something else, something deeper. "What the hell?" Wild Card's voice broke through the tension. The kid's actually holding her own. Wild Card, true to his name, was always the unpredictable one. A fighter by nature, he never followed the rules. But when things got tough, His outlandish ideas often brought unexpected results. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, watching with an intensity that was rare for him. "All right, what's the play, boss?" Wildcard's voice was low, but there was a hint of admiration in his tone. "I'm thinking it's time to shake things up." Ratch's eyes never left Lily. "We need to give her time to breathe, to think. Theros is a walking tank. He won't be distracted for long. Enzo, can you hack into the environmental controls? We need something to throw him off." "I've been trying, but..." Enzo's voice trailed off, his brow furrowed in concentration. "There's a secondary protocol running in the background. It's like they know we're trying to break in. Every time I make progress, it locks down again." Sky exhaled sharply, frustration creeping into her voice. "We don't have time for this. We need a plan now." Wildcard grinned like a madman. "Or maybe we just need to create a little chaos, huh? Let's disrupt the arena's gravity, cause some confusion. I'm sure our friend Theros won't mind the extra challenge." Ratch shot him a look, part warning, part acknowledgement. "That could work, but you're not going in there unless we're out of options. We need to keep the kids safe." Wildcard shrugged, unfazed. Fine. But if you're thinking of using me as a distraction, you better believe I'm going all in." For a moment, Ratch hesitated. She trusted Wildcard in a way that both unnerved and reassured her. He was reckless, yes, but when things fell apart, his unpredictable nature often filled the gaps where strategy and planning had failed. If anyone could keep Theros occupied long enough for them to pull off a hack, it was Marcus Finch. "All right," Ratch said, her voice hardening with resolve. "We're doing this. Enzo, work fast. Wildcard, get ready. Sky, you stay with Lily. If she needs anything, you're her lifeline." Sky gave her a quick, enthusiastic nod, her face lighting up with a sudden burst of determination. "Got it, Captain." The tension in the air was palpable as Ratch moved into position. Every muscle in her body was coiled tight, ready to spring into action. The time had come to fight, not just for survival, but for something greater, to prove that humanity could stand against the might of the galaxy's most powerful warriors. Meanwhile, in the center of the arena, Theros finally seemed to realize that Lily was no mere prey. She was faster than he'd anticipated, her movements almost erratic yet calculated, like a strange dance he couldn't predict. He paused, a growl escaping from beneath his helmet. The alien soldier's mind processed quickly, and it was clear that his pride had been wounded. He wasn't just angry anymore, he was desperate to end this fight. But Lily, for reasons Ratch couldn't yet understand, didn't seem worried. There was a subtle shift in her posture, a quiet determination settling over her small frame as she faced Theros once again. She wasn't afraid of him. She was adapting. "Stay with her," Ratch ordered again, her voice sharp. She could feel the weight of her team's eyes on her. There was no room for hesitation, no room for failure. Enzo's fingers danced over his wrist pad again, his brow furrowed in concentration. "I'm almost there. Just a little more time." Ratch's heart pounded in her chest. This was their moment. Theros was about to make his next move, and they needed to be ready. And then, just as the towering soldier lunged forward again, the arena's lights flickered. A sudden pulse of energy coursed through the ground, causing the air to hum with a low vibration. Theros faltered. For a split second, the entire arena seemed to shift, gravity pulling slightly askew, the ground beneath their feet warping. Lily saw the opportunity first. She didn't hesitate. With a fluid, almost graceful movement, she darted forward, using the distorted environment to her advantage, her small body like a flash of lightning. Theros swung his heavy fist, but Lily wasn't there anymore. Ratch's pulse quickened. "This is it. Enzo!" Ratch demanded. "I've got it." Enzo's voice crackled in her earpiece, followed by a sharp click. "All systems are mine. Let's bring the chaos." The arena's control systems groaned in protest as Enzo's hack triggered the arena's environmental fail-safes. Sparks shot from the walls, and the gravity wavered again, this time throwing Theros off balance. He grunted, his armored form stumbling in the air, his massive frame crashing to ground with thunderous impact. Lily, calm and focused, took the opening. The fight was far from over, but in this moment, she had proven something that Ratch hadn't expected. A human child had already learned how to survive, how to outwit the most dangerous creature in the galaxy. And that was just the beginning. The arena was a chaotic mess of flickering lights, shifting gravity, and the sound of Thero's frustrated growls. The soldier's hulking form struggled to regain its footing after the disruption, his heavy armor screeching against the jagged floor as he tried to stabilize himself. The once stable environment had become an unpredictable battlefield, and for the first time in the fight, Thero seemed genuinely uncertain. Lily stood at the edge of the chaos, her body poised like a predator in the shadows, waiting for her next move. The child had become something more than just a symbol of human fragility. She was evolving, adapting with a speed that baffled even the seasoned warriors watching from above. Ratch couldn't take her eyes off her. "This is insane," Wildcard muttered from behind, his voice laced with awe. "That kid's got moves I don't even recognize. Looks like she's been trained." Ratch shook her head, her mind racing. "No training. She's improvising, adapting." The words felt strange on her tongue. In all her years of military service, she'd never seen anything like it. Humans weren't supposed to be able to do what Lily was doing. Not in the face of such overwhelming power. Not against a soldier like Thero's. "You've seen it too?" Enzo's voice crackled through her earpiece. "I thought it was just me. Something's off about the way she's moving. Like she's playing 3D chess while we're all stuck on checkers." "Focus on the hack, Enzo." Ratch snapped, but she wasn't irritated. Enzo had always been the type to notice the details others missed, and his observation meant something. Lily wasn't just surviving anymore. She was becoming a force. Wildcard was the first to break the silence. All right. I'm getting pumped just watching this. You know what this calls for." Ratch didn't answer right away. She knew where this was going. Wildcard was the team's wildcard for a reason. He never liked to follow the rules, always preferred to make his own. And now it was clear he was itching for a fight. "Get your head in the game, Marcus," Ratch warned. "You're not going in unless we have no other choice." Wildcard grinned, his teeth flashing white in the dim light. "That's why I love you, Ratch. Always thinking ahead. But I've got a feeling this thing's about to get a whole lot messy, eh? And I'm not planning to miss it." The room around them hummed with a low, vibrating energy. Enzo's hacking had destabilized the arena's environment further. Gravity shifted irregularly, and the arena's walls sparked with blue electrical surges. It was chaos, but it was chaos they could work with. Lily, still in the center of the arena, seemed to be embracing it. She darted between the unpredictable shifts, her every movement calculated, her gaze locked on Thero's. The child's small form wasn't just evading the soldier's deadly blows. She was anticipating them, almost as though she had a mental map of his moves before they even happened. Ratch clenched her jaw. How was she doing this? Lily wasn't just fighting for her life. She was reading Thero's every action, reacting with an eerie precision that defied all logic. Ratch had thought humans were adaptable, but this was something else. It wasn't just physical. Lily was analyzing, learning, and evolving faster than anyone Ratch had ever seen. "Enzo," Ratch called again, her voice tight. "How much longer?" "I'm almost there. Just need a minute, damn it." Enzo cursed loudly, his voice crackling with frustration. "They've locked me out of the mainframe. It's like they know exactly what I'm trying to do." "Don't stop," Ratch urged. "We need this. Keep pushing." She could see the moment Lily made her move. No hesitation, no doubt in her eyes. She stepped forward, closing the distance between herself and Thero's, her body low and agile, ready to strike. Thero's lunged, his enormous fist coming down with crushing force. But Lily wasn't there. She had already moved to his blind side. For a brief moment, it was as though the arena itself had gone still. Thero swung again, his massive arm cutting through the air with the precision of a trained killer. But Lily was already moving, her leg propelling her forward with a sudden burst of speed. It was almost a blur. She didn't just dodge. She countered, with a strike aimed not at Thero's body, but at the joints in his armor. Thero staggered back, his eyes wide with confusion and anger. The force of Lily's strike had clearly damaged something in his suit. The soldier's next movements were slower, more cumbersome. For the first time in the fight, he was reacting, not dictating the pace. "That kid's a monster," Wildcard whispered, barely able to contain his admiration. Ratch's hand tightened on the control panel at her side. She couldn't tear her eyes away from the spectacle unfolding before her. How is this possible? Her thoughts were interrupted by Enzo's voice, strained with tension. "I've got it. Systems are down. We've got control. But listen, this is the moment. If we don't act now, we'll lose everything." "Get to the plan," Ratch ordered. Without waiting for a reply, she tapped the control panel and activated a series of security overrides, which sent a pulse of energy through the arena. The gravity returned to normal, but the energy field around the arena flickered and weakened. Ratch had hacked into their environment settings, just enough to throw Theros off his game. Lily didn't wait. She rushed forward again, but this time, instead of evading, she took the fight to Theros. She targeted the weak spots in his armor, her small hand striking with the force of someone who had learned the anatomy of war in mere moments. Each move was deliberate, purposeful. There was no panic, no fear, just a growing understanding of how to bring the giant down. Theros, realizing that this wasn't just a game of brute force anymore, roared in frustration, his movements becoming more desperate. But each misstep took him closer to the edge, closer to defeat. Then, in the midst of the struggle, something unexpected happened. Lily, in a move so quick and unexpected that no one had time to react, dropped to the ground and slid beneath Theros' towering form. Before he could retaliate, she sprung upwards and with a single, well-placed strike, hit the power core embedded in his chest armor. The soldier faltered, his eyes widening. His suit sparked violently, energy crackling across the floor. "Holy!" Wildcard's voice was full of disbelief. "Did she just—" "She did," Ratch said, her voice barely a whisper. "She took him down." For the first time since the fight began, the audience was silent. The tension in the air was thick, heavy with anticipation. Lily, covered in dust and bruises, stood victorious in the middle of the arena, her chest heaving with exhaustion, but her eyes locked onto Theros with a quiet resolve. Ratch's heart skipped a beat. They'd done it. They'd won. And in that moment, she realized that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their strength, their technology, or even their tactics. It was their ability to adapt, to think in the face of impossible odds. They weren't just survivors. They were fighters. The arena fell into an eerie silence as the dust from the final strike settled. Theros, the once unstoppable Galactic Soldier, now lay crumpled at the center of the pit, his enormous form twitching faintly, a flicker of life still sparking in his damaged armor. His body had fallen, and in his place stood Lily, small, determined, and unshaken, as though the entire fight had been nothing more than a rehearsal. Ratch exhaled sharply, her heart still hammering in her chest. They'd done it. They'd actually done it. For a moment, the chaotic noise of the arena, alien cheers, shouts, and screams, seemed distant, as though the entire universe had held its breath. The human child had taken down a soldier of legends. Wildcard, still perched on the edge of the viewing platform, let out a low whistle. Well, looks like we got ourselves a new champion," he said, grinning from ear to ear. But there was something in his eyes, a flash of something more serious. The humor, while present, was laced with an undercurrent of recognition. "She's a damn force, that one." Sky, who had been watching the entire fight with a mix of awe and concern, ran toward Lily, her usual optimism radiating even more intensely in the wake of the victory. "You did it. You really did it." She knelt beside Lily, brushing off dirt from the child's clothes with a smile. Lily, still catching her breath, nodded silently. Her face was covered in sweat and grime, but there was a quiet pride in her eyes. Pride in something she hadn't yet fully realized. She wasn't just a symbol of human endurance anymore. She was a living testament to humanity's unique ability to think, adapt, and overcome. "I didn't know I could do that," Lily muttered, almost to herself. Her voice was hushed, a reflection of the overwhelming emotions flooding through her. She didn't know whether to be elated or terrified by what she'd just done. "You did more than that," Ratch replied, stepping forward and giving her a reassuring pat on the shoulder. You prove something no one expected. That we, are capable of facing the impossible. But how? Lily asked, looking up at Ratch. How did I? Ratch didn't have the answer. She could have offered something inspirational, something cliché, but in that moment, she realized it didn't matter. Lily had already found the answer herself. In a way, Ratch was proud of that. The moment of victory, however, was fleeting. The low hum of the arena's energy field flickered, and the overhead lights buzzed ominously. A sudden, sharp noise cut through the air, a harsh screeching, like metal against metal, followed by the crackling of static across the loudspeakers. What the hell is that? Wildcard stood up, his grin now gone, replaced by a furrowed brow. The crowd above had grown eerily quiet, their attention shifting from the fallen soldier to the source of the disturbance. Enzo's voice came through Ratch's earpiece, his tone urgent. This isn't over, Ratch. I'm seeing something in the arena systems. There's another wave coming. Someone's overriding all the security protocols. Ratch's stomach dropped. What do you mean? Someone's overriding the system. I mean someone else has control of the arena, and they're sending in a new force. Something big. Something worse. Just then, the ground beneath their feet trembled. Ratch barely had time to react before massive doors on the far side of the arena slammed open with a deafening crash. The audience, which had been completely still just moments before, erupted into a roar as they witnessed a new threat entering the arena, a new opponent, massive and terrifying. It wasn't Theros. This one was different. Taller, heavier. His armor was pitch black, covered in intricate alien symbols that seemed to shift and shimmer as though alive. What is that? Skye whispered, her voice tinged with both awe and fear. Ratch didn't have an answer. Her mind was racing, but she couldn't come up with anything useful. The new soldier's armor seemed impervious to the arena's energy fluctuations, and his movements were deliberate, methodical. He didn't stumble like Theros had. No, this one was composed, efficient. Enzo, any chance of shutting him down? Ratch asked, keeping her voice steady despite the rising panic. I'm working on it, Enzo replied, sounding less certain than usual. But whoever's controlling this arena has fortified it beyond anything we've encountered. I can't even access the door systems anymore. Ratch didn't have time to worry about the systems. This new soldier was already advancing toward them. Slowly, purposefully, his dark helmet reflecting the harsh lights of the arena. Wildcard cracked his knuckles, his previous humor gone, replaced by a level of focus Ratch rarely saw in him. Looks like we're about to make a new friend. Huh? If that thing's anything like Theros, it won't be a walk in the park. Get in position, Ratch commanded, her voice sharp. This time, we need to fight smarter. Lily, stay close. You're not alone this time. The child, still catching her breath, nodded without hesitation. Despite the shock of what had just happened, her expression was one of steely determination. I can do it again, she muttered under her breath. Ratch wasn't so sure. This new soldier was something different. This was not a battle of sheer strength or adaptability. The next fight would require more than quick thinking. It would require everything they had. As the new opponent moved closer, the air seemed to thicken. The lights above them flickered, dimming the arena's once blinding brightness. There was something ominous about the figure, an aura of cold precision that made Ratch's skin prickle. We can't let him get close, she said. Wildcard, you're on distraction duty. Skye, keep an eye on Lily. If she moves, you move with her. I'll take the lead. The dark soldier's hand shot up, and with a sharp gesture, the arena's energy shifted again. The gravity fluctuated once more, but this time it wasn't random. It was controlled, systematic. The new soldier wasn't just a warrior. He was a tactician, using every advantage the environment provided to his benefit. Ratch's mind raced. She needed to outthink him. She had no other choice. But as the soldier's hulking form drew nearer, the air crackled with something even more unsettling. They weren't just facing a warrior now. They were facing a commander, a strategist. And Ratch knew one thing for certain. They hadn't come this far to lose. You know what? Wildcard said with a dark grin, we'll figure out a way to turn the tables. Like we always do. Ratch glanced at him. Her mind was already racing through options. She didn't know what they were up against, but she was damn sure they weren't going to back down. Not this time.